Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Way with Maps. I'm your host, Maps, aka Javier, and we have a great show for you today. And by we, I mean me, because it really is just me in the studio today. I am the guest, and I'm also the host, so this should be fun. Which, on that note, I want to talk a little bit about the direction of the show and where it's going. I pre-record episodes because I have guests on. Today, I couldn't do live because I have a writing and rhetoric. I have a writing center appointment for my writing and rhetoric class because I need to, school first and all that stuff. But yeah, it also helps me because I just feel more comfortable when I'm recording because I don't have the kind of pressure, or at least as much pressure, to I don't know. I like the show to flow well. Not that I would be halfway through a recording and delete it, but I don't know. I just feel a lot more comfortable when I'm recording in this setting. Nonetheless, like I said, I'm trying to do make the show a more consistent thing. I know I've missed last week, and before that was fall break, so it's been a weird up and down thing. It was the switching of stations also. While I was switching from WSND to WVF5, but I'm here now, and it's good. This is my first time ever recording in a WVF5 studio, and it's pretty cool. So yeah, I'm trying to, like I said, schedule different guests and do that ahead of time. Next week's show, I'm scheduling it with one of my friends from back home. Actually, we're going to be talking about Puerto Rican independence and Puerto Rican statehood. Depending on which side of the spectrum you're on or lack thereof. Anyways, I say lack thereof because a lot of people I feel like this issue. I mean, for my Puerto Rican listeners, you guys are listen to this all the time, but for people here in the in the U.S., a lot of them don't aren't really well versed in this issue because really it's not exactly relevant here. There's the same way that, let's say I'm Puerto Rican and I'm not well versed in all the states issues, the individual states. I don't know what's happening in Wisconsin right now politically, so yeah, it makes sense. But I mean I think the Puerto Rican statehood argument is at least or the Puerto Rican statehood versus Puerto Rican independence debate is, I don't know, I think it's an interesting topic, and I think it's good for just everyone to understand. So really, I kind of want to bring that to the table and talk about, see two different points of view on that. So that's going to be a fun time. I'm also trying to get a linguist. Well, she's not a linguist. I'm messaging a psychology professor. She is a psychologist, but she focuses a lot on linguistic or psycholinguistics, and I've always really been fascinated by the science of language and kind of what language, how language works, particularly the brain to sound and the sound to brain connection. And by that I mean it's crazy to me how we as people and humans can just think. I'm thinking something right now, and it's immediately basically I want to say borderline instantaneous, transferred into sound, and then you, the listener, you're getting sound waves through your speakers or your headphones or whatever, and it's transferring to your brain, and you're processing it immediately to the point where I can dish out a lot of sounds, and ideas are interpreted through those sounds, and you can pick them up and interpret them. And that to me is crazy how that happens so quick. And I was thinking about this earlier on during the semester in my French class because I speak fluent Spanish and French. Spanish and English. I wish I spoke fluent French. I'm working on that, but I speak fluent Spanish and English, and like I said, I'm working on my third language. But I was thinking just how in English and in Spanish, if I hear even if I'm just walking, because there's obviously other Spanish speakers in Notre Dame, if I'm just walking down the hall and I hear other people speaking Spanish, my ear will just pick that up immediately. It's not even it's not even like a cognitive thing. Whereas in French, I'm actually like thinking really hard to interpret and to listen to all the like words that are in the sentence so I can pick it up. So that kind of, I think there is like when you're learning a language, I don't know if it's like a switch where like it just immediately you get it like that when like you're learning a language and like from like there's got to be a point from where I am right now in French to where I am right now in English and Spanish where you just have to think really hard about something to understand it, and then the other one is just you get it literally like not subconsciously but like just someone's over there, and I picked up a word in Spanish and I can tell these people are talking Spanish even if I'm not like talking to them. It just like they just pass by. So that idea is really interesting to me. So yeah, I'm going to be emailing. Well, I have emailed her, and she has gotten back to me. We're going to be trying to talk a little bit about. I might meet with her next week and talk a little bit about the show and like seeing if she's willing to come on. I think that'd be cool if she did, because like I said, like the purpose of like the show, at least for me, it's to just, I think Notre Dame's like a really cool community, and it has a lot of interesting and like very intellectual people, very smart people, obviously. And it's just really fascinating to me to just take part in to take part in a lot of conversations here. And I kind of want to showcase that to the world and to other people who might just either have a curiosity or be entertained or educated by the conversations that that we're having here. And I don't know, I just think it's a really cool thing. I love talking to people here and just having like different sometimes like we'll talk about, like, for example, yesterday I had lunch with, shout out Nano, shout out Kate, two of my close friends here. We were having lunch and we were talking about so Kate is in my international relations class, and we were talking about like just like nuclear proliferation in class, and like the benefit and like detriment of nuclear proliferation and how that would play out. And we were like talking to Nano about just nuclear weapons and what we've learned in class, and that was like a really cool conversation. I want to have Kate on the show, so if she's ever on, we can talk a little bit about nuclear proliferation and kind of share some of those ideas that we learned in class, have them on air. That'd be cool, I think. But yeah, having that said, I think we're ready to get into it. So today the topic, I don't know if I said this already, but we're going to be talking about success. And this whole idea for this like episode kind of came to me when I was in a writing and not writing and rhetoric class. I was in my Moreau class, and the topic of the class was kind of defining success and like, what does success mean to you and what are you striving for? And this just got me thinking a lot about like what direction I want to take my life in and what I want to do in the future and for what purposes I want to do it. And I was just taking notes on the class and like of my ideas as I was listening to my Moreau instructor. And I want to share some of those ideas today with you guys. Sorry if I have like a bit of a cough. It's the winter weather, which I will talk about later. I want to talk about the snow, but let's dive into this. So the first thing that came to mind to me when we were in class was just and I've had this a lot, like a surprisingly shocking amount of times. I've just what I call the holy cow moment, where I'm just literally walking through campus, and I know this already, but I kind of like realize that this is my reality, like I'm here at Notre Dame, and then like this is kind of what I've been striving to. I've always wanted to go to college in the U.S. ever since I was in the 6th grade, and I've been working I've worked so hard for it, and the fact that I'm here now is just something that occasionally I'll just like be walking around campus and I'll be like, holy cow, like I really am here, and that's insane. Like, and I love that. I love it here, and it's just amazing, and it's just like, wow, it's just like, I don't know, I don't even know how to explain it, but I know a lot of other students like from my dorm, and a lot of my friends have had that, where it's just, and we've even had conversations about it too, where it's just like we're here, you know, and that's like, I don't know, that's like something that is like just a really cool kind of concept, and it's like weird almost, because it's like, wow, I really am here. So that was like a really big one that came to mind. Next I have, so like I said, the topic was of the class was like defining success, and it's, I was thinking, like, what is success to me, and what does that mean? You know, like, what does success mean to me, and what represents succeeding to me? And I realized that I don't know. Like, I'm still trying to find out what success is. For the longest time, success for me was, so I was working really hard, like I said, to just be able to get good grades and like do good on standardized testing and just be able to come here. And for the longest time, that defined success for me. But now that I'm here, it's like I'm trying to find my way again and trying to like strive towards bigger and better things. So, but that's kind of like a little scary, because it's like I don't know. Like, I don't know what I'm doing almost, and that's kind of funny. In the way that, like, I am, like, I do have a really solid concept, and I know that, for example, I know that I got, like, I don't want to say lucky, but I know, like, I have a lot of friends that, like, are changing majors and all that stuff, which is super normal, you know? But I mean, I was lucky enough to get it from the get-go, where it's like, I know I want to do poli-sci, and poli-sci is my like intended major, by the way, but I know that I really enjoyed it here, and I'm really enjoying that class, and I'm going to keep that as my major. But other than that, like, I know I have to succeed in school and all that stuff, and I would like to do law school after undergrad and go on to the future. But there comes a point where I just realize, like, and this is another, like, kind of segueing into another point, where it's like, life is happening now. And that's a really weird concept, because for me, it was always, like, back in Puerto Rico, it was always striving to do this, and, like, striving to get good grades, and striving to, like, I will someday, like, achieve this, and this is what I want to achieve someday. And it was always this someday argument, you know? Or not argument, but idea, and always in my head, where it was like, I'm doing this now so I can someday be there. And I am now living in the someday, and I'm kind of looking for my new someday. And like I said, I have an idea of what that is, but it's just like, I'm still trying to figure that whole thing out. And that's what I mean by, like, I'm still trying to find out what success is. Another big thing, it's like, here, like, back home, I was like top of the class or whatever. Here, everyone's top of the class. So I'm average here, and all these, like, super smart kids from all, like, around the world are, like, super smart, and they were all individually top of their class, like, really, like, just crazy smart people. A lot of them come from, like schools that are just, like, very prestigious, and, like, that's also something I'm trying to adapt to, is I'm adapting to being average, which is not a bad thing. Like, especially when the standard for being average is so high here. But it is just like it's just a concept that I'm just trying to be like before, I always strived for, like, A's, and I still do strive for, like, straight A's and all that idea. But I have to acknowledge now that if I get a B or whatever, like, we're just so used to, like, having that be a bad thing before. But now, like, if I occasionally, like, if I get a B on a test, and it was, like, a really difficult class and a really hard test, that's a really good grade, you know? Like, it all varies. And it also depends also on, like, the curve of, like, how other students did, obviously. But that's just an interesting concept to me. It's just, like, kind of adapting to being average, and also finding my peculiarities in a good way. Like, I I don't really know the term for this, but it's like finding out what makes me stand out from the rest of the crowd here. Doing the show is like one of those things because, well, not everyone has a podcast or whatever. But like, I don't know, I'm still trying to like find my way and trying to like see, like I feel like I belong here, but I'm just trying to see what makes me stand out and trying to figure out these different things. Aside from academics that like, because we're all the same academically speaking, like more or less, all these kids are like super smart. So it's kind of like people excel in different areas. Like some people are really good at sports, especially here at Notre Dame, man. The athletes here are like super like good. But some people excel in like, I don't know, like my roommate John, he's a really good athlete, but he's also like a good musician. John's really good at hockey. But he's also really good at playing the guitar. So it's like just different things, you know? So that's another idea. Like that's another concept that I'm still like trying to like figure out. And kind of on this topic of just saying like, oh, like I'm trying to figure out like life is happening now, and I'm trying to figure out what happens after like I graduate and after like I do like grad school. It made me realize that there is no magical switch that makes you an adult. And that is scary, but it's also funny. Because, essentially, adults are just kids. Like, in my eyes, obviously, like, maturity plays a large level, but there is nothing inherently different in the person I am today than the person I was a year ago, other than the fact that 1 year passed. Obviously, let's just say, hypothetically, I'm more mature now. And let's also say that I've had an extra year of life, so I've had more experiences. But I used to live with my parents, and I used to, which, I mean, I still do. Like, when I go back home for the summer, I'm going back to live with my parents. But I mean, like college versus high school is, I guess, the comparison I'm making. It's like I used to like live with my parents, and like now I'm doing laundry, which is weird to me. I know, I'm like, just spoiled. Yes, in a way, technically, but like not a lot of people did laundry when they were in high school, but I was not one of those people. But yeah, it's just crazy. Like I have to like be on top of my schedule too. No one's here to tell me. And obviously, like, you know, these things coming into college, but it's just crazy to realize that like no one's here to tell me when to go to bed is what I was going to say. But it's crazy to realize that like I'm basically adulting a little bit, you know, like I'm still a kid in my eyes, but I am adulting, in the sense that like I am, it's funny because like my stats teacher gave out some stickers like we were doing like for participation. They were adulting 101 stickers, and it was like if you got a question wrong, if you got a question right, she would give you a sticker, and it would say like, I didn't eat ramen today, and it was adulting 101, or like I did my laundry today, and it said adulting 101. So it was funny. But yeah, it's like there's nothing that, and like you keep taking it up, right? Like for example, like my parents, like obviously, like again, maturity comes with time and all that thing, but like I'm treated differently now than I did a year ago. Like my parents don't call me at like, let's say 10 and tell me, hey, go to bed because it's late, or because you have school tomorrow. And like I'm responsible for that now. But last year, I mean, obviously that entails also going like living under the same household. It's easier because they're just there. But even when I went back home for fall break, like my parents weren't telling me when to go to bed. You know, they were like, hey, just it felt different almost because I mean, which is good. It's a good thing, but it's just interesting, like that whole spectrum of like who I was exactly 1 year ago and who I am today. It's like it's only been a year, but I feel like my life has changed so much, and it has changed for the better, I think. Like I said, I'm having a great time, and it's wonderful. Like I love it here so far, and I love the freedoms that come with college. But also, to quote a very famous comic book, with great power comes great responsibility. And that's the trade-off, is you have to be responsible for your own things. Like no one's doing my laundry. I have to do laundry today, and if I don't, I have to do it sometime tomorrow or this weekend or whatever. But like no one's on top of me for that. And if I don't do laundry, I just have dirty clothes, and it's just, you do it out of, even if I leave it at some point, like I'll have to do it out of necessities. Like there's no escaping your responsibilities, almost to the point where it's like, I don't know, it's like funny to me how like it's just, I realize that, like, I don't know why that's such an obvious thing, I think, but it's for some reason I've always had this very different like notion in this concept of like an adult and a person, or sorry, an adult and like a teenager, or like I'm a teenager, but an adult or like a high school, like I just felt so different from my parents, and other adults, because they go to bed on time, and like it's the little things that you never think about. Like I never thought that my parents had to be like, okay, it's kind of late, I'm going to bed now, I have to do that now. Like I have to, like I was always, and that's weird. It's weird because it's such an obvious thing, and I feel kind of dumb for thinking that way, but it's just kind of like, I don't know, I just find it a little fascinating, that adults are basically just kids, or just old children. Like I'm an old kid, and once I'm 18 now, and as I get older, I'm just going to be an older kid. And so my parents are just 50-year-old kids, which I mean is kind of poetic. Then following that logic, like my grandparents are just like 80-year-old kids. So it's kind of like a cute thing, because it's like we stay young, but we just kind of, I don't know, we're like, it's weird. Like I feel like the same person. And maybe that's another thing, like how I feel versus how I really am. Like I'm probably a lot more mature than I was, I don't know, like 4 years ago. I just don't feel it because I've always been me. So I don't know. I think that's just an interesting concept. Yeah. So I want to like segue into other points here. Oh, okay. So when I was thinking about how like I was like always working like really hard, like back in high school, and I was like trying very hard and like studying very hard to like get to where I am now. I remember having this conversation with my teachers, and we were talking about how, at least for me, and I like, for me, giving 100% wasn't enough, in the sense that like giving 100% meant, like, I felt like the people I was competing against, which is the people I go to college with now, like there's kids that here that are like insanely smart and like super just brainiac people, in the best way possible. Like I love that, and I love that I live and I'm able to interact with people in this community. But I always knew that I was competing against these kids, And coming from Puerto Rico and like my background, I always felt like I was at a disadvantage, because a lot of these kids have and had like crazy resources and went to like insanely prestigious schools and all that stuff. Granted, education at the end of the day, I feel like, will get you there regardless if you focus and if you like work hard. But obviously there are some benefits to having like lots of resources and being able to, I don't know, like it's obviously a very different setting. But to me, I always knew that 100% wasn't enough, because 100% was only going to get me as far as excuse me, it was only going to get me like so far. And 110% was kind of the way to make up the disadvantage, and kind of just what I told myself every single day. And I think it's important. I think that's important to just, everyone should take that as like a given. It's like giving 100%. It's not that it's a bad thing. Obviously giving 100% is good. But for sometimes you're faced with certain challenges that you know that 100% isn't enough, and you just have to give it 110%. You have to go a little bit longer than the distance to guarantee or to make sure, at least to feel good. Like, even if I didn't get into Notre Dame, or if I didn't, like, if all my, like, all the colleges I applied to in the U.S., like, didn't accept me, I would have felt satisfied because I had worked so hard, and because I knew that, like, I would have known that no matter what, I tried, you know, and I tried my hardest, and I gave it my all. And that's kind of, that's another thing, like, my parents have taught me, too. It's just, like, at the end of the day, all that matters is that you gave it your all, and that you worked hard for what you wanted. You know, and it's not like, oh, well, if you didn't get it, like, it's a bad thing, or it's like, it's not exactly the same. Obviously, when you get it, like, I was able to get into Notre Dame, and I feel great about that again, and I'm like super proud, and I'm like, it's like all the hard work is paid off. But even if I hadn't, it's important to just know and acknowledge that, like, trying. I feel like that's a very cliche, like, movie thing too. It's just like, oh, as long as you try, but, like, really though, like, trying your hardest to achieve what you want, it's kind of the best you can do. Because literally, that's literally it. The best you can do is the best you can do. And if you can't do, like, you literally can't do better than that. So just giving it 110%, I don't know, that's just a point that kind of spoke to me a little bit. Another really big thing that kind of stuck out to me was that, and I knew this when I, like, went to high school, and when I was going to high school, was, so a big reason why I want to go to college in the U.S. is because of the opportunities here. The community here is also something I'm really fond of, but opportunities here are, like, so abundant, especially on Notre Dame, man. Like, this campus is insane. Like, not just as a campus, but just like the amount of stuff going on. Like, who would have thought that in 2 weeks of me, like, being here, I would already have, like, a radio show, and I had, like, and I developed it into a podcast or whatever. But it was just crazy to me. Like, that was insane, you know? The opportunities here are just so quick, and excuse me, I'm trying to get into music again, because I did music in high school, and I'm trying to find a bass here and play, like, with my, like, I don't know, hopefully start a band or something. I don't know, we'll see where it goes. But I know the opportunities are there. And that, to me, like, it's always good to know. Like, I felt, that's one thing that I really felt back home, was I felt like I was being boxed in. And I felt like I had explored everything there was to explore back home in terms of, like, me. In my, like, again, everyone's story is different. And I acknowledge that some people, like, for some people, it's better. It was better for them to stay in Puerto Rico because that's what they wanted, and they're happy doing that. And that's cool, too. But that's just, like, for my personal case, I felt like that wasn't for me, and I felt like I was boxed in. Like, I had explored, and I had filled all the space I could fill in Puerto Rico. And here, I just feel like I have so much room for growth, to the point where it's a little scary, because it's like, wow, like, it's so much, but I love that. I love just potential. Like, that's it. I'm a big sucker for potential, and I see the potential in a lot of things, which, you know, has its, like, it's a blessing and a curse, because you could be, like, I don't know, you could see potential where there is none, and that's bad. But I don't know, like, just, I think that, like, it's so, like, I'm just so, like, keen on that, and just like I love just being in a space where I can like just I feel like I have infinite room here. Like it's impossible. Even if I was here for like after I graduated, even if I was here for 4 more years, I probably couldn't do half the things that are like possible to do here because it's just so much. It's crazy. It's actually insane. So right now I'm doing like this podcast, and obviously it's something I want to continue because I love doing it. But I also want to eventually, once I have my schedule a little bit more under control, branch out into music, or student government is something I've been interested to. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But I just love knowing that I have the room to grow, and that I have the resources to grow, and that I have the community around me that encourages growth and encourages students to strive to be better and to be the best version of themselves they can be. I love that so much. Really, honestly, now that I realize that this is just this episode's just me saying I love Notre Dame and it's awesome. But I don't know, like I'm drawing a lot of comparisons between like back home and here. It's not that I don't like it back home. I had a great time during like fall break, and I enjoyed my time there, and I love, like, I have friends there, and my family's there. I love it, and Puerto Rico's a beautiful place, and it's amazing. But I don't know, for some reason it just wasn't for me, and I'm just really, really happy to be here. And like that's just one of the other things I was thinking in that class is like, and again that comes back to the whole holy cow moment. It's like, wow, like that's, I don't know, I feel it's a little crazy, you know, like it's just. It's hard to explain. Sorry that I keep coughing. It's just honestly like, okay. So there was a big snowball. I don't know if I explained this already, but there was a big snowball fight last weekend. And I was breathing heavy in the cold air, and it like messed up my throat a little bit, but it's whatever. Anyway, that's why I'm coughing. Sorry about that. So yeah, opportunity and the importance of being out of your comfort zone is so huge. The importance of that is so huge, to step out of your comfort zone and be able to try new things. And I've always been a firm believer in that the best way to learn something is by challenging your own views and your own perspectives on it. Like, it's like I have this idea about something, and that's another thing I really love about, like, I'm a poli-sci major, like I said. And college campuses in the United States tend to be like left-leaning, but also Notre Dame's a Catholic institution, so there's a lot of conservatives here too. But I love that balance, and there's cool programs here, like obviously like the like I'm going to go a little political tangent here, but the political setting of, I think, the world, but more particularly like the United States, it's getting very polarized. Like the left is going farther to the left, the right is going farther to the right, where I believe most people should be in the middle, and most people should strive to find middle ground, because honestly, it's just more efficient for everyone. And it's also like just where people should be. It's never good to, like, extremes are never good. But like Notre Dame has like a really like good balance, I think, in between like Democrats and Republicans, and aside from that, like just conservatives and liberals. I don't think, like, I mean, the same thing happened in Puerto Rico. Like with the politics, it's just like at least me, like I try not to like get too solid into a political party. I mean, obviously, like I don't know. I just think it's important for people to understand that, like for people on the left, it's important to understand that, like, not all Republicans are like bad, and it's important for people on the right to understand that not all Democrats are bad, and that not all conservatives are Republican, and that not all Democrats are, or that not all liberals are Democratic, or like Democrats. Which, I mean, yeah, that's the tendency, but I mean, like, people can vote both ways. That's why sometimes the Democratic president, or the Democratic candidate wins the presidency, or and why sometimes the Republican candidate wins the presidency. Like, it swings back and forth. Like, that's, like, obvious. Like, I don't know what I'm saying right now, but like basically, I like that Notre Dame keeps its doors open to different perspectives and how, particularly with the political thing, you have like the college Democrats and you have the college Republicans. And then within that, there's another club. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called Bridging the Gap, but don't quote me on that. Anyways, it's a club based on, like, whose purpose is to kind of unite both the Republican and Democratic, like, perspectives into one, like, solid, like, I don't know, like, exposing both sides to their opposing points of view so that they can find middle grounds on issues, like having civil conversations and all that type of stuff. And the college Democrats and the college Republicans work together with this club to organize events, and I think that's really cool too, because you love it. You just love to see when both sides of, like, both perspectives of an issue are able to be expressed, and, like, I don't know, like, that whole idea, like, that just ties into the idea of challenging your own perspectives. Like, if you have a view on something, you should get, like, input from it, even if you don't change your mind. But at the very least, I think we should be able to say, I might not agree with you on a certain issue, but I understand where you're coming from, and I can understand why you think this way. You know, like, I don't know. It's just healthy conversations, and Notre Dame has a lot of those. So that's really cool, I think. And that kind of ties into my next point, which is the importance of being surrounded by an ambitious community. Notre Dame has, like, everyone here is just so, they just all strive for great things. I sound like LeBron James now, strive for greatness. I love LeBron, by the way. Just saying, because I know there's a lot of LeBron haters out there, and I don't want people to think that I hate LeBron. I love LeBron. I hope the Lakers win it this year, or Houston, because I'm an Oklahoma City fan. I think we have a bright future, but obviously, like, our history, like losing KD and then losing Paul George and then Westbrook, it's just been like a mess. But or Houston. Houston now has Russell Westbrook's my favorite basketball player. So yeah. I mean, we'll see. But yeah, I'm just saying. This big tangent. I love LeBron James. Whatever. So yeah, but everyone here is just, like I said, striving for greatness, and it's a beautiful thing. Like, no, I sound like so flowery, but but like, I mean, like, in a present sense, like, I'm here and I get to experience it. But also from an external point of view, it's just good to know that, like, these communities of people that are just striving for, like, such insanely, and I feel like that's also, like, kind of a pinnacle of that. Like, I've always been, like, really keen on striving for doing what's never been done before, and, like, and breaking records and breaking boundaries and going, like, farther and like, going the distance. And then, like, that whole 10% argument, it's just coming full circle. I love it. Like, 100%, like, that's what, like, that's the norm. Like, it's not the norm. It's obviously, like, really good, but, like, going 100% and then go that extra 10%, like, that extra mile, like, put more effort and put more work and strive to, like, do more things. I don't know, just like go and be, and everyone here is like that. It's just, I don't know how to, like, conceptualize it, but it's just, everyone here is like that. Everyone here is, like, very, like, a go-getter, has a go-getter attitude, and just, like, go, like, just keep just going forward, and just, like, balancing all this, like, all these different things and doing different things and having the opportunity to do them. And what's this other point that I have here? I remember, and, like, being prepared to take advantage of opportunities. And that's another big point I want to bring up. I think it's really important to, like, opportunities will come and go, like, no matter where you are in life. I think in your life you will have, I don't know how many, but you'll have at least one. You're guaranteed to just have opportunities, times where something, like, an opportunity is brought to you, like, it's there, and like just as important as getting that opportunity is being able to capitalize on it, in the sense that you have to prepare yourself for what comes next. Like for me, that was really like during high school, like I had an opportunity to go to school in the United States, and I capitalized on it. But in order to do that, I had to make sure that my high school record, or my school record in general, was good, and that I had a good, like I had done things before that. Like I said, I've wanted to go to the U.S. For college since I was in the 6th grade. So just knowing that I had to prepare myself for when the time came and the opportunity presented itself, I could then have all the resources and all the assets I needed to have a fighting chance in the race. And evidently it paid off for me, and it pays off for a lot of people. But I just think that's one thing that's really important, is to just not just take advantage of opportunities, but be ready. Even if, like, let's say hypothetically speaking, you miss an opportunity and it sucks, and that was bad. And you didn't, like, you had a hard time. But you have to prepare yourself for the future. And you have to prepare yourself for the next opportunity that comes. And, like, I'm going to give an example. When I was so in 8th grade, I wanted to be a writer. I enjoy writing a lot still. I don't want to be a writer now, but I used to want to be like a writer and write novels and stuff, because I mean, I've always wanted to write a book, and I just really like I don't know, stories and storytelling, and like it's a fascinating thing to me too. Maybe I could talk about that sometime on the show. But it's like, where was I? Oh yeah. So it's like I wanted to be a writer, and I had, so during like my summers and during high school and like after 8th grade, I did a lot of like summer programs. In part to kind of like find out what I wanted to do, but also to like get exposed to like the college setting in the United States and what like that was like, and if I don't know, just like being exposed to different experiences and different ideas and different people. And I was going to apply, I think it was a writing for the summer scholars for Notre Dame, like the writing class or whatever. And that year, I think I missed like the deadline, and I was really upset. And I was really upset at that time. By the way, I didn't know what Notre Dame was. I just knew it was like a university in the United States, or I knew of it obviously, but I just didn't know kind of what it. I didn't know it like I know it now, and I didn't know it like I knew it last year when I actually did summer scholars. But the point is that I missed the deadline then, and whatever, I went on and I did other summer programs, right? And then last summer, like not this past one, but like my summer before senior year, I did summer scholars. And I loved it. And I took political science. It was a different class because obviously my ideas had changed. And I loved, I just remembered. It wasn't for writing. It was for law, because I was interested in law. No, but like back to the story. I loved Notre Dame, and I loved my political science class, and I loved my political science professors. And that was a big reason and a big part of why I applied to Notre Dame for my college admission, and why I loved it so much, you know? But if I had gone to Notre Dame in the first place for the law thing, maybe I wouldn't have liked it that much, and maybe that would have led me to not want to go there again for the same program for another class, and maybe that would have led me to not want to apply here. So I'm just saying, things happen for a reason, and even if you miss opportunities, it's all about capitalizing and making sure that you're prepared for your next opportunity and the next chance you get to do whatever it is that you want to do. Because even though I missed that first deadline for Notre Dame, I managed to get the second one, and I managed to and it managed to lead me into the path of like that I'm in now. Like, it led me here, and it put me in a place where, well, I might not be here had I had like things gone otherwise, you know? So like that's another big point. It's just the importance of capital, like taking advantage of the opportunities you have, but also the importance of preparing to take advantage of the opportunities you will have in the future. And then another big thing we talked about on the show was falling forward, and the importance. Did I say talk about it on the show? I meant in class. Was falling forward, and the importance of failure. Excuse me. And well, falling forward is that whole idea of, and that kind of ties into again the importance of preparing for the future, but it was about like the importance that failing has in success, and the importance that excuse me again, man, just all this talking is not being good for my throat right now, but I'm gonna finish it out. And the importance that failure has in us being able to achieve success. And if you fail, knowing that it's not the end of the world, number one, and number two, that there's always gonna be a next time. There's always gonna be another opportunity to come, you know? And if you fail, taking failure as a learning experience, taking failure as something that isn't, I want to say tangible, but I just don't even know that applies. Taking failure as, I don't know if any other bilingual speakers do this. I do this a lot. This is a little side note, by the way, but sometimes I just think of a word and I feel like it fits, and it might or it might not. But I don't know. Like sometimes I know it fits into the word, like into the sentence and the thing I'm trying to say. But I just won't know what it means. But anyways, yeah, the importance of like taking failure as a learning experience and taking it as something that isn't concrete. Like if you fail at something, it's not like I said this already. It's not the end of the world, but it's not. It's something that you can bounce back from, and instead of being hung up on that failed instance in that particular moment, you should instead take excuse me, take what you learned and take that failure moment, learn something from it, analyze the whole thing, what went wrong, what could you do better next time, and implement that into your preparation for your next opportunity, and implement that into your attempt for success the next opportunity you get, you know? That, to me, I think, that is super important, and it's something that I feel like is spoken on, but isn't really, you hear that a lot, learn from your mistakes and all that type of, stuff, but it's not, very seen in society, I feel like. Which is a whole conversation aside, you know? I'm sorry. I promise that for the next show I'll try to not cough. I've been coughing a lot of this show, but yeah. And there's also, while there always will be an opportunity in the future, there are also instances in which you have what I call do or die moments. And it's these, like, for example, I feel like the SAT was one of these for me, you know? I feel like I didn't do very good on the first SAT I took because, like, for what I wanted to do, you know? I feel like I didn't do, like, very good. A lot of people would defer and say, and all my friends told me, Javi, that's a great score. You're like, that's really good. But I knew what I was going for, and I knew, like, the scores I was competing against, and I felt like that wasn't enough. And for me, so you can take the SAT however many times you want, but it's not like you can take it forever. Like, there is a very significant window in which you can take it between junior and senior year. And for me, the SAT was one of those moments where I said, I have to put every ounce of effort and like blood, sweat, and tears, everything like I can into getting at least this score. If I want to have a fighting chance, number one, and number two, if I want to feel satisfied with my like effort and my and my attempt. And those moments exist throughout, like, maybe for other people it might be like for sports, and like if you want a chance, like the athletes here that are like super good, if they want a chance at winning the championship, or I don't know, getting to the playoffs, or whatever their goal is, there's a limited, like you get a certain amount of attempts, and those are like do or die moments. And particularly, you'll have one like instance where you know that it's now or never. And prioritizing, man, it's important to just prioritize on what you want and where you want to go. And in a way, this kind of helps me and helped me. Like, it helped me before to get to where I am now. And these types of ideas are the same ideas I want to implement now to get to where I want to go now, and to figure out where I want to go and to what I want to do. And that kind of makes the whole thing a little less scary. So I don't know, like, I guess for all the other college students out there listening, it's true. College is scary, but I don't know, like, there's always, like, we've made it this far, you know? Like, we can definitely go the distance, and it's not as scary when you look back at everything you've done in it, like, what's been important, like, what's helped you succeed in life, and what's helped you develop and become the person you are today, and what's helped you, like, what's made you feel satisfied, you know? And what's led you to this point, and you take that and you apply it back into the future. Or sorry, you apply it to your present to get to the future that you want to get to, and you do the best you can do, and after that, I mean, it's just a matter of, I don't know, like, there's always that certain point where it's like, there's only so much you can do. Like I said, the best you can do is the best you can do, and after that, it's all like, it's like when you finish a test, and you've studied really hard for it, and you hand it in, and you're like, this is the best I can do. And whatever grade comes back is what I'm getting, because I studied really hard for this test, and this is it, like, and I feel like that's the feeling everyone should strive for when they not just like handing in tests or whatever, but in all things in life, and when you attempt something and when you do something, everyone should strive for that feeling where it's like, I've put all my effort into this. This is what I can do. I think this is all my hard work put together. And then after that, the best you can do is the best you can do, But yeah, that's my little rant about success and the whole shebang. I hope that was entertaining. I mean, I feel like I got a lot of ideas out on kind of my own personal beliefs on success. Obviously, like, it varies, and like I said, I feel like I'm still a kid, so I still have a lot more to go and a lot more to learn. And it's also weird to do this in a single person setting. And it's also weird when I think about it that way, because it's like I'm just talking alone in a room, but talking to you guys, the listeners. If all goes well, this episode should go up today from 3 to 4. So I hope that this was enjoyable for you guys, but I still have 4 to 5 minutes, so I'm gonna just talk for a bit. But yeah, I hope that this was helpful to some people. This is an episode that I feel like it serves well to anyone from college students to anyone trying to achieve a goal to anyone trying to, anyone in high school. I feel like it's really good for people in high school too, because, I don't know, just go for it. Do your best, man. Here I am trying to be a motivational speaker. Not really, but it comes off that way. Yeah. What else? I want to just reiterate what I said at the beginning of the show, which is next week topic should be Puerto Rican independence versus Puerto Rican statehood. Stay tuned for that. That should be fun. It's one of the shows that I've been really looking forward to doing. Not only because I'm doing it with my good friend Marcel, but because I know it's a topic that I might get some feedback from back home. A lot of people have strong opinions. Once again, though, I think it's important to just listen to both sides of the argument and just, I don't know, just play the whole thing out. And I've had this conversation many times before. So has Marcelo, I bet. So it's going to be interesting. I've had a conversation like this with him before, too, but we haven't really elaborated a lot on it. But it should be fun to have this conversation with him. And hopefully we can, I think ultimately, the middle ground is already there, as we both want what's best for Puerto Rico and for our families and for our friends that live there. But there's just different ways to view it. But yeah, that should be fun. And again, I hope that I can get the psychology professor on the show. That would be great, because once again, that's just a topic that I find very interesting, and I don't know, it should be a good time. So yeah, that's basically it. We're running out here the last 2 minutes of the show. The whole president impeachment hearings are going on now, so stay tuned to those. Those are very entertaining, not entertaining, just interesting. I was listening to some of those yesterday. Looking forward to see where the whole thing goes. I don't think the president's going to get impeached, but we'll see. But yeah, it's just very relevant thing. Once again, kind of following the premises of the last, the ideas of the last show. Stay environmentally aware, and turn off the lights in a room if you're not using them. This is quick tips to save the planet. Turn off the lights. Today's tip is turn off the lights in a room if you're not in the room. So yeah, I look forward to next week's show. Should be a lot of fun. I will also be trying to put up these shows on YouTube, so as soon as I get the YouTube channel up, and I need to transfer the audio file into a video file, but as soon as I get that done, it should run smoothly, and it should be great. So yeah, I look forward to having that so you guys can also listen not only when we're live, but also, or like when it's like streaming, but also whenever it's most convenient to you guys. So that should be a good time. But yeah, hope you enjoyed today's show. Once again, stay safe. For those of you on campus, stay warm. For those of you back home, enjoy the warmth. And I'll be seeing you guys next week, hopefully. This has been The Way with Maps. I'm The Way with Maps. I am your host, Maps, and thanks for tuning in.